Hello everyone. In the last video, we had dealt with the meaning of election. Till this slide, we have come. What is an election? The process by which people choose their representatives at regular intervals. This is known as an election. Now, let us study elections in detail. The process of election in democratic countries differ from that of non-democratic countries. So elections are of two types: democratic elections and non-democratic elections. So where democratic elections are followed in democratic countries, of course, and where non-democratic elections are follows, where democracy is not there, where democratic government is not there, or we can say non-democratic government is there, there non-democratic elections are followed. So let's take a closer look at the characteristic of a democratic elections, as we are going to study only about democratic elections. So let us see what are the characteristics of democratic elections. Okay. What makes an election democratic? So how is election a democratic election? What are its characteristics? So first is everyone should have one vote and every vote should have equal value. So I have a right to vote and my vote carries a value. My vote has a value, it doesn't go invalid. So my vote is valuable, the same way your vote is also valuable. So everyone should have one vote and every vote should have equal value. Parties and candidates should be free to contest elections and should offer some real choice to the voters. So how am I going to choose the candidate? The candidate which is most appealing, the candidate which is assuring me that he or she would bring a certain positive change in the society, and the candidate which has new plans in his mind to reform the society, the candidate which is going to make new changes, positive changes, and what should I say, the candidate which is going to lead the country or my society towards progress, I am definitely going to choose that candidate. So what these parties and candidates should do, they should offer something new, which is progressive to the voters, so that their propaganda should appeal the voters and voters should vote them. So this should be there, and this is the characteristic of election democratic. Further, elections must be held regularly after every 5 years. Under democratic election, it should be held regularly. What is the tenure of one candidate, elected candidate, of 5 years? So after 5 years, again elections should be held. The candidate preferred by the people should be elected. So candidate which has got maximum of votes by the people, that candidate should be elected as the winner of that election. Okay. Freedom to contest and a wide choice for people. So people should be free to contest the election. Any common person has the right to contest the election. See, even I am having the right to contest the election if I know what is the society's welfare. If I have certain plans in my mind and I have some thing, I have good connections with the party, and if I have the knowledge about the elections and how to implement my plans and policies and how to reach out to the minor sections of the society, I have the right to contest the election. So this is the characteristic of democratic elections. Any person in this country can contest the election. Election should be conducted in a free and fair manner where people can choose as they really wish. So no one should pressurize me to whom I should vote. See, vote to whom I should vote is my right and it's my choice. If I think the person is eligible, I can vote that person. I have the right to vote that person. If I think the same person in the next election, that if I found that the same person to whom I have voted in the last election and that person has been elected, but he had not done anything good for the society in in those 5 years, then I have got the another choice. I would not vote to that person again. I would vote to another person. It's dependent on me. So elections should be conducted in a free and fair manner where people can choose as they really wish. So these are the characteristics of democratic elections. Everyone should have one vote and every vote should have equal value. Parties and candidates should be free and to contest elections and should offer some real choice to the voters. Elections must be held regularly after every 5 years. The candidate preferred by the people should get elected. Freedom to contest and a wide choice for people. Elections should be conducted in a free and fair manner where people can choose as they really wish. But how healthy is this competition? Is it really working according to its characteristics? So we have to find out. See, every coin has two sides. So this democratic election has merits as well as demerits also. So let us analyze some of the merits and demerits of an election as a form of political competition. After all, it's a competition. What kind of competition is it? It is a political competition. So let us focus on demerits of political competition. Demerits, disadvantages of this kind of political competition. In the name of party politics, many unwanted practices are followed. Unwanted practices means bribing people, threatening people, killing people to make that a certain candidate win the election. These kinds of unwanted practices are followed. So this is one of the demerits. Okay, another is creates a sense of disunity. It also creates a sense of disunity. Further, parties level allegations against each other of using dirty tricks to win elections. So if there are two parties which are who are electing or contesting elections against each other, they have allegations on each other. They put allegations on each other, they blame each other, they play dirty tricks against each other to win the election. This is another demerit of political competition. Next, long term and sensible policies cannot be formulated. Long term and sensible policies cannot be formulated under this political competition, since there are many rivalries for a certain, if any party or any candidate who has been elected and working in a fair way, looking after the society, there are many rivalries for him. He creates rivalries for him for by working in good sense for the society, and his long term plans and his sensible policies, they cannot work for a longer time, since these rivalries and these people who are against him are not they are do not allow him to work properly. For the next election, they try their dirty tricks and this candidate is removed from their way and they win the election. So this happens in the political competition. Another and last demerit is good people do not enter politics. So I know that out of 100, I should say 60 people are there who do not like politics at all out of 100, because they are aware of, again I'm uttering this word, dirty tricks which are applied, used, implemented by the rivalry parties, and threatening is there, and pulling of each other's legs, it is there. Whosoever is trying to work hard for the society through the political medium, the opposition party doesn't allow that person to do so. So good people, they do not enter politics. So these are the demerits of political competition. Now let us concentrate on merits of political competition. Elections are good because they force the ruling party to perform. Why elections are good? Because they force the ruling party, these elections, they remind the political parties or the ruling parties that they have to do good for the society as they have promised while campaigning. The government is aware that it will be voted out of power if it does not perform as the people expected. The government, whosoever the party, the ruling party is, it is aware that if it does not work properly as per the people's desire or expectations, then that party would be thrown out of the election. It is aware. If it doesn't perform good, if doesn't perform well, then next time, the next election, they are going to definitely lose. So this is This is good in the political competition. Next, it forces parties and leaders to perform. So competition is good. So there is a competition. There are several parties who are trying to show their level best to the society, and they have various propagandas where they assure people, if this party, this ruling party is not performing well, we are there for you in the next elections, please vote us, we will be doing good. So this is kind of a competition which is healthy, and it forces the parties to and the leaders to perform good, to do good for the people, because here people are ruling, not the parties are ruling, because people have the power to vote out the party or the leader which is not working good for the society. Political competition may cause divisions and some ugliness, but it finally helps to force political parties and leaders to serve the people. What is the bottom line? The parties and the leaders who have been elected, they have to serve the people. They are the servants of the people, they are not the leaders of the people, because people have elected them. Okay, so till here we have seen the merits and demerits of the democratic politics or political competition. Now, what is the system of election in India? What kind of elections are held in India? General elections and by-elections. General elections means elections which are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. General elections means elections which take place after every 5 years. These are general elections, okay? And what is this word constituency? Constituency means voters. What is a constituency? Means voters in a geographical area who elect a representative to the legislative bodies. So we are the constituency. In my area, whosoever the people are there, they form a constituency. So that is a constituency, and a person who represents my area, that person is a candidate of that constituency. Understood? So elections are which are held in constituencies at the same time, maybe on a same day or with the gap of a few days. This is called a general election. Now, what is by election? Sometimes election is held only for one constituency or two, to fill the vacancy caused by death or resignation of a member. If between in the mid tenure, if any candidate, or not candidate I should say, any representative, elected representative, he dies or there is a vacancy of that place, then by elections are held of that particular constituency, of that area, that election is held. Then this election is known as by election. Understood? So general election and by election. Electoral constituencies. So what are electoral constituencies? The country is divided into different areas based on population for the purpose of election, which are called electoral constituencies. Our country is divided into several or different areas based on the population of that particular area, and that area which has a certain amount of population, that area forms electoral constituency. सो वी हैव डिफरेंट कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज. हम उसको हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? विभाग. इस विभाग का प्रचार कौन करेगा? वो विभाग, ये विभाग मीन्स कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी. इट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड इलेक्टोरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी. For Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. For Lok Sabha means national elections. Okay, for Lok Sabha elections, the entire country is divided into 543 constituencies. So total 543 constituencies or areas are there who elect their representatives, and those representatives who belong to different parties. Okay, they decide which party, after being getting elected, they decide which party gets the maximum of votes. Okay, so Lok Sabha elections are national elections, and for Lok Sabha election our country is divided into 543, means 543 constituencies. Similarly, each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constitutes. So national elections are also there. In the same way, state elections are also there. For state elections, assembly constituencies are there. So these are electoral constituencies. specific areas according to the population forms an electoral constituency. Next, reserved constituency. Now, in general, there are for national or Lok Sabha election 543 constituencies. There are also reserved constituencies. So, for whom these reserved constituencies are? Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Constituencies are kept reserved for scheduled caste 84, the number they have got 84, and scheduled tribes 47. At local and district level, the reservation system is extended to other weaker sections like women and OBC. So other reserved constituencies are also there apart from scheduled caste and tribes. Those constituencies are for women and for OBCs. So these are the reserved constituencies who vote for their candidates. Voters list. What is voters list? The list of people who are eligible for voting is prepared by the Election Commission of India before election. So what is this Election Commission? We are going to discuss about it later. Let us discuss first about voters list. This voter list is prepared by Election Commission of India, and this list says that tells us a list of people who are eligible to vote. Okay. In India, all the citizens aged 18 years and above have the right to vote regardless of his or her caste, creed, color, religion or gender. Of any caste you belong to, of any creed you belong to, whatever color you have, whichever religion you belong to, whatever gender you have, if you are 18 years and above, you have the right to vote, and your name should be included in this voters list. Since you people are 14 to 15 years of age, you are not eligible right now to vote. Your name would be added in the voters list when you will cross 18 years of age of your life. Now, nomination of candidates. In voters list, we have studied who are those voters who have the right to vote. The condition is that you should be 18 years of age or above, then only you have the right to vote. Now, what is the conditions for the candidates? Nomination of candidates. So, anyone who can be a voter can also become a candidate in elections. So, even a person, see, for what is the age limit for to be a candidate? You should be minimum 25 years of age. 25 years and above, you have the right to contest the election. Okay, anyone who can be a voter can also become a candidate in election. Okay, however, minimum age in order to be a candidate, the minimum age is 25 years. Political parties nominate their candidates who get the party symbol and support. Party's nomination is often called party ticket. Okay, if you are thinking to contest the election, you need to be a part of a party, or you need to form your own party. You need to have your own symbol. If you have decided to be a part of any already established party, then you have to fill the party form. Okay, then only that party or those party members, they elect you as the candidate who would be representing in the election. Then you will get the symbol of that party to elect. You will also get the support from the party. Party's nomination is often called party ticket. If you get the ticket of that party, that means you are contesting the elections on behalf of that party. It is called party ticket. Every person who wishes to contest an election has to fill a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. A person who wishes to contest the election has to fill a nomination form, very important, and you have to give some money as a security deposit. You have to give some money. You have to give. This is a rule under Election Commission. A new system of declaration has been introduced on direction from the Supreme Court. Every candidate has to make a legal declaration giving full details of. So, according to the new system of declaration given by the Supreme Court, the decision is given by the Supreme Court. It says every candidate who is wishing to contest the election has to make a legal declaration. Legal declaration. What kind of legal declaration that candidate has to make? If there is any serious criminal cases pending against the candidate. If that candidate has committed any crime, is his name enrolled in any criminal case, then that candidate is not eligible to contest the election. Further, that candidate has to give details of his assets and liabilities and his or her family. He has to give all the details of his property, his assets and his liabilities to the election commission, and his family details to the election commission. What are his education qualifications? Everything has to be given to the election commission. And if the election commission accepts that this candidate is eligible and has passed all these conditions, then only that candidate get the nomination as a candidate to contest the election. Election campaign. After you get the final green signal from the election commission, and you have got the support of any particular party, okay, you are free to do the campaigning. You need to let the society know what is your propaganda, what are your plans for the society. For that you need to campaign. So that is called election campaign. Political parties try to focus public attention to bigger issues during election campaign. So if from my area, if I am contesting the election, what I would do, I would concentrate on the bigger issues. For example, water. If my area is not getting sufficient supply of water, then I would promise my the people over there that if I get elected in the election, then I would assure that I promise that there will be a proper water supply on a regular basis. Okay, that will be my propaganda. And if I get elected in the election, then I have to fulfill my promise by giving them proper and regular supply of water. Okay, so political parties, they try to focus public attention on bigger issues during election campaign. Promises, their propagandas, they prepare everything in the election campaign. In election campaign, the political parties have to agree for a model code of conduct. They have to agree model code of conduct. What is that code of conduct? They should not bribe the people. They should not pressurize the people. They should not threaten the people. People means voters. They should not threaten the opposition party members or the person who is the opponent of his. Okay, so that person should not get any threat from the other one. So this is the code of conduct. Everything should be followed under code of conduct. The campaigns take place for a 2-week period between the announcement of the final list of candidates and the date of polling. So when this election campaign takes place, takes place for 2 weeks. Okay, right after the list of candidates is declared or announced, and before the date of polling. Polling means the day of voting. Between this period, there are 2 weeks span. In these 2 weeks span, election campaign, they take place. Not before that, not after that. The final stage of an election is the day when the voters cast or poll their vote. Okay. The final stage of election is when the day of election, when people, they cast their vote or they poll their vote. Election campaign. What makes elections in India democratic? How elections in India are democratic? So Independent Election Commission. I told you that we are going to discuss about Election Commission. So what is this Election Commission? In India, elections are conducted by an independent and a very powerful election commission which enjoys the same kind of independence that the judiciary enjoys. So election commission is treated equal as a judiciary system. Okay, so what this election commission does, it implements the code of conduct and punishes any candidate or party that violates it. It has the right to implement the code of conduct, and it has the right to punish that particular candidate or party who violates the code of conduct. During the election period, the election commission can order the government to follow some guidelines to prevent use and misuse of governmental powers to enhance its chances to win election, or to transfer some government officials. So during elections, this election commission holds the government. It is treated higher or superior than the government, and it orders the government to follow some guidelines to prevent certain misuse of governmental powers to enhance its chances to win the election. So election commission is superior than the government, and it is equal to judiciary system in India. When on election duty, government officers work under the control of the election commission and not the government. So when the election duties are declared, to whom they are declared? To the government officers. So these government officers, they work under the control of election commission, not under the government. When election officials come to the opinion that polling was not fair in some booths or even an entire constituency, they order a repoll. A repoll means re-elections are conducted when election officials, they come to the opinion, they observe that some unfair means are used for the election, then they order for the repoll. The Chief Election Commission is appointed by the President of India. Who appoints the chief? Chief means the head of the Election Commission. There should be someone to head, to lead the Election Commission. That person is known as Chief of Election Commission, or CEC. Who elects him? The President of India elects the Chief of Election Commission. But once appointed, CEC is not answerable to the president or the government. But once this Chief of Election Commission is appointed, then that person is not answerable to the president or the government of India. Every political party and candidate gets a fair and equal chance to compete. According to our election law, no party or candidate can. Okay, so every political party and candidate gets a fair and equal chance to compete. So we know this because this is a democratic politics. So every party and candidate gets a fair chance to and equal chance to compete. According to our election law, no party or candidate can. What they cannot do, they cannot bribe or threaten voters. They cannot appeal to them in the name of caste or religion. They cannot use government resources for election campaign, and they cannot spend more than rupees 25 lakhs in a constituency for a Lok Sabha election, or rupees 10 lakh in a constituency in an assembly election. So these are the things which should be followed by the candidates or any particular party while contesting the election. Further, acceptance of election outcomes. Whatever the outcome of the election is, that has to be accepted by the candidate and the party. The ruling parties routinely lose elections in India, both at the national and state level. In India, about half of the sitting MPs or MLAs lose elections. MPs means Member of Parliament, and MLAs means Member of Legislative Assembly. These people, MPs and MLAs, they lose elections because they accept the fact or whatever the outcome of the election is. They have to listen to the people's demands. If they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. Accept it. Now let us come to the last part of the chapter, that is challenges to free and fair elections in India. What are the challenges faced by the free and fair elections in India? Candidates and parties with a lot of money may not be sure of their victory, but they do enjoy a big and unfair advantage over smaller parties and independent parties. So candidates and parties who have a lot of money, they may not be sure that they would win, but they enjoy a big and unfair advantage over smaller parties and independent parties. In some parts of the country, candidates with criminal connection have been able to push others out of the electoral race and to secure a ticket from major parties. So a candidate or a party which has a criminal connection easily gets the party ticket. These are the challenges. Some families tend to dominate political parties. Tickets are distributed to relatives from these families. We are very much aware of INC, National Indian National Congress or Congress Party, where this kind of a nepotism is followed, where only people from that family gets the tickets, and family members, they only contest the elections, not the members of the party get the chance to contest the elections. So this can also happen, and it happens. Very often elections offer little choice to ordinary citizens, for both the major parties are quite similar to each other, both in policies and practice. Smaller parties and independent candidates suffer a huge disadvantage compared to bigger parties. So there is a lot of chance for the bigger parties to win the elections, as they are well established. Okay, candidates who are individually contesting the election, or parties who are smaller in size, they are newcomers, they little bit they get the disadvantage of being new or being small in size. Okay, they take a lot of time to establish, to reach to the minor parts of the societies for their to spread their propagandas, their plans, and they have to face a lot of challenges as compared to bigger parties. So till now we have come to the end of this chapter. I hope you have understood what electoral politics is, what is elections, what are its characteristics, merits and demerits, what are the types of elections followed in India, and what is voters list, election commission, chief election commission, and everything, and what are the challenges faced by the elections in India. Everything we have studied in detail in this video. Please go through the video, read this part in the textbook and in the refresher as well, learn the question answers, mark the important points, and leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you.